Hiya, it's Xavier, and welcome to my bonsai retreat. And today, finally, we're going to get to the Trident Maples. And for some of you, you probably wonder, I have so many Trident Maples, why is it that they feature so rarely? And if you watch any of the ones from last year, you'll realise the truth is that the year before, they got hit by a really heavy frost and really did a lot of damage to them. And last year they showed some signs of recovery, but I wasn't willing to do any heavy pruning or anything like that. In fact, there probably wasn't anything there too heavy prune. This year, we've got one here. There's definitely a few of them that have got a lot more growth on them, and they're starting to feel a lot better, and I'm feeling a bit more confident that I can actually do some of the standard work. And in terms of work, it's absolutely no different than my maple pruning or a lot of the other deciduous. I will defoliate many of the ones that look, anything that's looking healthy, I'll be defoliating quite heavily, taking it back to where I want new buds to push from, bring growth right back in close to the actual primary secondary structure. So that's what I'm going to do, but before I do that, I've got a load of wire to remove, and that wire was put on when I did the autumnal pruning. So I think now's a good time to take it off, and guess what? I'm not going to put you through that. So when we come back, it's probably going to be another day, hopefully sunnier, and the wire will be off. What I will do, quick shout out, my godson Patrick, he's ever so busy trying to get GCSEs and stuff like that done, and the good thing about educating from home is that it gives some people the opportunity to take exams early, and he's an absolute wonder. He's been doing really well, as have all of the children from that lovely family. And also I'm going to pipe out to Jen, who's started her own YouTube channel. I think it's Yes You Can Home Educate. Yeah, it is. And she's just started, but covers all the stuff to do with that. If you're interested in anything like that, then definitely you're going to have a look at her channel. Should we get back to the bonsai then? All right then, let's get the wire off. Okay, so managed to get all the wire off, and then the heavens opened up on me yesterday. So, hey, glory be, next day, and it isn't much warmer, it isn't much brighter. So, got to get on, and I picked three tridents. I picked ones that are healthy and showing good flush of growth. Got a number of others that haven't got anywhere near the same amount of growth. And all I'd say to you is you prune according to the growth that it's giving you or showing you. Remember, the tree will tell you how much energy it's got and how healthy it is. If you haven't got great long extensions or flushes like these, don't prune it. The tree's telling you that's the energy I've got for that, and just let it keep going with what it's got. Feed it, keep an eye on it, and there's nothing wrong with that. With this, again, I've got to remember with the Trident Maple, it's an apex predator. That means it's going to throw all its growth up here, because it wants to be a big tall tree. So this is the stuff you want to control, and where you're looking to try and develop out, you may well not go back as heavy here. So this is one of a batch of trees I bought back in 2017. I will tell you the price because, as I say, this day and age to get Trident Maples is the UK can be quite expensive, and you won't necessarily get particularly great specimens. And this sits in a category of cheap trade imports back in 2016-17, and I paid the grand sum of £20. And yes, I've had it for 5 years or so, and it has some interesting challenges, some of which I've faced and some of which I've ignored. The bucket of sand in my head spent many times together, but no, I'll hit this one and see where we go. So, naughty person I've been, my shears are still dirty from yesterday's growth, and we know that's wrong because one, any infections or anything that may well be on the blades will be transferred to this tree, and two, if it's not sharp, I'll end up doing more damage than good. So I'll get that done and then come back to you. Okay, lots of ugly scars, and that can only be really managed over time. I just basically nibbling away at it and trying to get it slowly to heal over properly. The biggest mistake I have made in the past is I try to nibble them back flush. And then of course we all know what happens. The callousing rolls over and just recreates the bobble that you have. So you actually do need to create a hollow within there so that it can roll over into it. Some great big scars here, and today I'm not going to be talking about the sort of wound healing on that. There's a lot to be done on this, to be fair. Probably help if I used a larger concave cutter. Is it concave, convex? Confused, it's my confused cutter. So here I'm really going to hollow it out. Okay. So there's a slight indentation. Hopefully what it'll roll over and it'll do with it being deeper actually. There's quite a lot of ugly scars on this one, and really I also need to put this into a bigger pot, and I may actually do a very basic slip pot into something bigger. I've just put a little bit of cut paste on there. I'll seal up the rest of those, but let's just have a look at the overall. I mean, in terms of the overall shape of the tree, when you've got the foliage on it, it's not too bad. I mean, it's a scarred trunk, but we're developing pads on it. And to be fair, the real work I'm going to be doing on this, I will definitely be doing, as I said earlier, in the autumn, when I can actually see the structure a lot better. And just one more thing to always have prepared when you're doing your pruning on your Trident maples. If you want to be propagating, make sure you've got a glass of water, because these do propagate well. So when we go looking into the actual apex, at the moment I'm not doing anything with what I see there, so I'm going to go all the way back to on bud, drop that in, bring the top all the way back down to 1. And if you have a look, if you looked in closer, you can actually see, and a lot closer, there's actually buds right in there I may actually be looking to do. But for the apex, and I'll take off one of the leaves there, just do a defoliation on some of these. And the whole idea of the defoliation here is not only to encourage the tree to push out a second flush. Our old cat's got a bit of a cough, but also to allow light to get in to the inner parts of the tree. What we don't want to do is have the inner parts of the structure dying off, because we are also trying to bring this back in. An example of the sort of pruning decisions we can make here, just get this one out of the way here. Up in the apex, we want to try and bring it in a lot tighter. We also want to get rid of coarse growth, and coarse growth is where these great big, thick, ugly lumps, which we don't want. If we look under here, we've got this lovely new growth here, and then beyond it, got this horrible clunk there. So we're going to get rid of that. Like that. That's going to be the direction of the new. Neaten it off a bit more. And then I'm just going to remove a couple of the bigger leaves that are getting in the way. We've also got up here a little bud here. And if I wanted the apex to continue through this, I would keep that. But I don't. We don't want it wasting energy on that. We'll get rid of it. Now this bit here I think is actually quite what I call clunky as well. We're going to have stuff coming out here, here. I'm happy with that one, but I may well want that one there to actually bud from lower down. Underneath it, we've got this one that's coming from underneath. We don't want that. So now we've just got 1, 2, and that's going to there divide into 2, 1, 2, coming up here. Now we've got to decide already whether, well, it's deciding whether your apex is actually here or whether we are continuing this up here. Now that decision I'm actually going to make later in the year. What I am going to just do, clear it up a bit. Got one closer in. In fact, we've got 2 that are closer there. Got one here on this side and one on that side. So let's get rid of this stub. Remove a few of the leaves. So we've got this little growth, which I love. 1, 2, happy with that. And it may be that that's as far, and I would remove this top bit. But for now, we're just going to limit any growth going off. Okay. All right, so that's small and happy with that. So that's basically all I'll be doing with the apex right now. And as I said, I'm not entirely sure which way I'm going with it yet. The proportions probably on this one going off to the right are just a little bit too thick in comparison to there. And it may well be that what I'll actually do in the autumn is cut here and see if we get a new bud coming out. Because that's actually quite thick in comparison to that. And that in turn itself is actually quite long and boring as well. So I'll continue making decisions like that. We can get rid of this. This will make a potentially good cutting. That's coming all the way from the little spur here. We don't really want it coming up anyway, and there's beneath it, which you can see just here, this little bud here, which is on this leaf, is coming out horizontally, so we'll have that. So I'm going to remove that. Potential cutting. It's all about trying to bring growth back in. We've got this situation, let's get rid of this so you can see it. We've got this situation here, where you've got a little bud there, here, and this one here. So the decision's got to be, bearing in mind if we're keeping this as a main branch, ugly scar there, and if there's anything I can go back further, I may end up coming back a lot further to try and promote growth a lot closer into the trunk, so eliminate this scar. But we've got underneath it, there's a little bud there. We could go all the way back to that bud, or we could really try and clean this up and get rid of this one. So we just left with 2 there. There's no point taking the middle one, or we could actually just get rid of that small one there, because we have got this branch going off here. So that's the decision I've got to make. That is really ugly. And yeah, a big cut like that I would do in the autumn when the sap flow is significantly reduced. It's the back of the tree. In this instance, I'm actually going to remove the small one. Because it will interfere with that branch up there. Stub there. And then here, what we have got, for another choice, is one bud, so there's 3 coming from there. Now we've got 1 on this side. We really want to take the right hand one off so we don't have 2 and 2. Or I take the middle off. And that way what I'm doing is stopping the length going further out. But in this instance I'm actually going to take that one off. People's choices will always be different depending on how they see the development. This one's curling all the way around. That is far too long for this high in the tree. I actually want a bud to come from much lower down in this second flush. Then we'll just reduce. And I will go around systematically, either defoliating or seeking new bud placement. Okay, so we've got this one here. There's an opportunity here to say, do I want this direct going up that way, or would I much rather have one coming out horizontal? And it's also a lot smaller. But truthfully, when you look at this horrible bulbous bits like my nose, there's similar sizes on them, so that's not out of place. And if I leave that one, then what we get is a 90-degree there, and I don't like those. So in this instance, unless I want to wire it, I'm actually going to remove it, I think. Yeah, I'm going to remove it. Clean it right out. And I'm now going to work my way around slowly, using the same principles. Do I want to bring growth back to a bud closer in? Do I want to look at rectifying taper issues in individual branches? do I want to clean out, and that's what I'm going to do with the rest of these. Okay, now I actually went quite hard on this upper section, took off some quite substantial growth for what would be the apex side, and that's because I want to redevelop, and I want to get rid of some of the scarring that actually came with the tree. So I've taken a lot of, it was out here, I've taken everything off to a little small bud there, and around here, little bud here, and there's a little bud here, and I'm probably going to be able to even take that back even further in the autumn. So I'm rebuilding that. And now because I've come back that far, it now tells me how far out I'm going to be able to go as I go lower down. And now I need to apply the same to here. Divide into two, but just there we can see we've got one bud, two buds, so I'm actually going to get rid of that. So we're going to develop from this way back here. And then here, well, that looks dead. So ideally what I want to do is try and get a bud to come from lower here, which is more than possible. So otherwise what I've done is created, at best, we're going to have a parallel and a parallel, which is no good to anybody. So I'm going to see, what I'm going to do is cut this one off here, see whether or not we get bud from here, or indeed whether we get a bud that's appearing from here. And all I'm wondering is one hasn't appeared yet, so the chances are it's not going to. In which case, you know what? Don't like it anyway. Let's move that, clean up the top a bit. Just wondering if I can get a little bud lower down, I can lose all of this. But I want to see the bud first, to be honest. Clean up a few areas. I can clean up that. Okay, so what I've done is taken off that little stub there. As I said, I am really hopeful of getting some sort of bud back here and just regrow this entire branch. Possibly, comments below. I mean, they do back bud pretty well. I'm just wondering, someone tell me, if I cut it here, is that likely to promote? Probably will promote something. Good healing going on in there. Yeah, what I might just do is open up around here and here again, so we can just get more healing on that. Actually, I've just realised, if you look at this one up here, got 1, 2, 3 in the same point. Realistically, I'm keeping this. I need to get rid of that one there, because that one's opposite it. So let's do that, shall we? Moving down further, got some obvious stuff here. I've got 1, 2 plus the main trunk. I'm not worried about necessarily having these here, but I'm certainly not going to be able to grow anything else here. I think if we're looking at the front end there, I may well get rid of this whole take a heel off that. As I said, it's a major difficulty trying to find a decent front for this tree, simply because the state of the roots. And although this is the first year we're getting a really good flush of growth, I'm also acutely aware that it's quite loose in the pot. So I do need to get this into a much bigger pot, and I'd rather do it sooner than later. But if I do, I won't be doing any major root work or anything. I'll just be redistributing. I'll probably show you that. Okay, so this is just ugly, and that needs to go. Ideally, I want to try and create a depression in there. Cut paste that. Now what I'd like to show you is I've actually got an opportunity to really rebuild a lot of this lower part. I mean, there's actually quite a good growth, and I may not actually do that. If you look, you've got these branches coming here, but underneath, just there and just there, you've got 2 new buds low down on those branches. I could actually regrow the whole branch from there. They're also a lot more horizontal rather than upward growing. So that's that. I could go all the way back to those, basically, these here, if I wanted to, and the tree would be fine. I don't think I'm going to do that. Got an upward one there, which I don't want. Do that. Got that ugly little knuckle on there I don't want. And then I've got the opportunity to rebuild this branch from all the way back there if I want. And I'm inclined to think about it, for sure. Imagine having the new branch from here, and it would give me the opportunity to remove defects that have been forming. But again, that decision can be made. I wonder. Don't know, I'll think about it. Okay, let's keep pruning back. What have we got here? We've now got this structure here, so we've got the one branch there, goes off. It's actually quite a horrible bend there. It's just over a 90 there. And that won't be changed by taking that one back. But ooh, something. What have we got underneath it? I've got something coming underneath it. I've got one there that's underneath. Quite like that one. I'm going to try and grow it from this one underneath. Another one underneath here. Happy with that, we'll leave that for now. Upward growing, we don't want upward. Got two here. What we want to do is clean up the structure so I can actually see what's going on in there. This continues to go up where I could actually got the option to take that bit off there. But actually, it's still going to grow up. I've got a bud that's a lot lower down there that I can remove that to. And that's what I'll do. I can definitely make more changes later. Anyway, so that's what I've done with that. I could do more or less. And yes, as I say, I'm very aware that we've got 1, 2, 3 there, but this is part and parcel of the sort of tree I've got here. So I'm not going to do anything with that. I'm now going to apply the same principles to this one and bring you back. Okay, so I've continued to work around on these. I've now reduced this branch considerably, taking it back. I probably took off at least half the length. Just nice individual discrete points of buds. Because I really know what I'm trying to do is, if it's treating these as the sort of the primary structure, I still need to develop a good backbone to create the tertiary structure. And the same here. I've done the same. Literally just made it a lot clearer to see where my secondary branching is actually coming from, and removed upward stuff. And you know, if we're looking at that for the front, ignoring that, it's a lot more clearer, that's for sure. So just got this one to do now, and bearing in mind I now know where the confines are, this is obviously going to come back quite a long way, and so we need to bring in at least half. So let's just start here. My rebuilding, that's an upward one, so I don't want that one. But what I have got is a bud here, which I like. Got this here I like. That branch is nice. We've got another one right back. Look underneath. There's a bud there. I have to decide whether that could be a place to grow from. But I actually quite like the structure I've got on there. Although, do I like this long one? I actually, isn't it funny? If you look at this one here, this long growth here, there's nothing on it until you get up here. I've got an opportunity to rebuild it from one down there, and I'm going to take it. And this will make a good cutting, I think. So, here we go. That will make a good, that one is probably going to succeed really well, that as a cutting, because that hard bit. Definitely. We have the new branch coming from there. We've got lower down. Probably that's going to interfere with this one here. Due to there being a bud point further, in fact there are, I don't know how well you can see, just there, there's actually a little bud, and behind it there's a little bud. They're dormant. If I cut this off, I'll activate those. And you can see them there. Definitely little bud points there. So I'm actually going to cut back to there. In fact, I'm going to cut back further. I want the ones right at the back. So that means that this one will grow beyond and will not interfere with this one. So we've got this here. We're going to have something from here. We'll probably get two, in fact, what will happen is we'll get two buds from this point. We'll definitely do that. That's the structure I've now left it with. That's the structure I've now left there, with buds that are going to come from there, there, and we're going to build it again. Okay, I've pruned as much as I'm going to today. This is probably come out a little bit too far. Probably needs to come back a little bit more. And there are places where I could do it, but I'm aware that I've taken off quite a lot. I'm quite happy it's going to be fine. I've got to clean this up, and then I'll show you how it looks. And for those of you who want to know, that's how much maple leaf is now all over the ground. I've got to brush it up. It's just a systematic process, and I'm going to do it to two more. Won't go into anywhere near as much detail, but let's clear up this first, then we'll come back.